Good morning. I am coming back to talk to you about trauma-informed yoga for mental health clinicians. I want to take a moment to say thank you to my coworkers, my fellow coworkers who have inspired me and asked me to kind of unpack what I'm doing so they can utilize this as well. So thank you, seriously. And then with that being said, I'm going to go into the lens in which I'm viewing things from, and then I'm going to go into a simple yoga pose and kind of break it down. And so I think I need to speak a little bit to what I bring as a clinician to the room is unconditional love, unconditional positive regard, a real desire to help alleviate suffering and bondage that my clients come to me with. So creating an environment to have corrective emotional experiences. And I think that fundamentally having a new relationship to self in a way that they want to have it and they're struggling to have. So, hey Prada. So with that being said, that's kind of like the reference point. And then this feels so good. It's so nice. So when a client comes to me and they have a tendency to override things or chase adrenaline or have this experience of self where they're talking about I'm too much or it's too much, or this like just whole entire thing of just kind of constantly overriding. A yoga pose is going to look a little bit different how I do an exploration with them than I would having an exploration with a client who is coming to me and having difficulties sensing self or feeling numb or things of that nature. So, and I think that there's like a whole continuum there. And so I think my job as a clinician is to constantly be tracking my client and helping my client find this new place where the body and being embodied and having an experience with sensations with the body is safe and corrective, and that I'm not reinforcing these patterns. Hey, Prats, don't do that right now. Don't do that with my yoga mat. I'm not reinforcing these patterns of suffering. So, for instance, with a simple forward bend, I would come to the center and I'm just going to have them lengthen their legs, and I'm not going to do anything. This is the work at this moment, and I'm just going to track what is going on for them and have them kind of talk about it. So like, is there pleasure? Is it comfortable? Are they able to feel themselves? Is all going to be part of the exploration. And then kind of just gently having them kind of tilt their pelvis and finding their center, finding their sit bones. And so to get some type of body awareness and connection to self. That's going to be just the beginning of the work. And then yoga is really about the breath, and I want you to see my toes here. So maybe just playing around with the toes, like pulling them out, pulling them in, just making it fun. Like, I work with children. What do those toes want to say? And maybe like kind of wiggling into the toes, and a lot of times like having access to moving the pinky is super difficult, so like kids will think that that's hysterical, that like they can't move their pinky. And then we talk about like it's about practice and being connected with the breath, and maybe they'll never move their pinky, and then they can always kind of laugh about that. So bringing in these places of joy and pleasure is, and creating this container where this body is something that a lot of times trauma doesn't allow this body to have a place of safety. So re-exploring this relationship to body and self and safety, and providing that container for the client to rediscover, or maybe even just discover for their first time. And so I take time to have the client envision what is upright and connect to breath and just breathe. And what's beautiful is after the client can connect with breath, like a lot of times there's just like a natural movement that will occur. And I really let the body's wisdoms come forward. So if like a client's kind of like moving back and forth and doing a stretch forward, I'm kind of like, oh, does that feel good? And I kind of do that with them, because there are so many muscle entry points and ligaments and intricacies that are happening in this body. And I like to explore, like a traditional forward bend is just kind of coming up and then breathing forward and then coming to the toes. And some people hold like this, and some more traditional yogas hold like this, and then maybe coming up again and then going forward. And that's going to stretch like a certain muscle group, right? Like there's certain muscle groups. This is actually just one picture of obviously several. But if a client is having like this thing where they're kind of moving side to side and that feels good, maybe really what's being released is something in the back, and the way it's being held or the movement that feels pleasurable is like this gem that's been unleashed with like this container of permission to explore. And so I always just kind of go with like what the client's doing, and then just gently remind them about the breath and about if I see any hyperextension, I speak to that, because we don't want a client going over because it's not actually about the muscles anymore, it's about the ligaments and tendons. And so I'm just like looking at the form, and then I'm kind of letting their muscles like guide them. And a lot of times there isn't anything that naturally emerges, and so then we're just taking it slow. We're here and we're breathing and we're finding our sit bones, and then we're just moving forward. And maybe right here they're going to find a small stretch. And if they find this small stretch, remind them how perfect and wonderful that is, and talk about what the stretch feels like. Like for me right here, if I don't override and go completely forward, this feels good. This muscle knows how to completely constrict on me, and this muscle knows how to completely extend on me. But this muscle wants some time just right here. It's like this little, it's like the sweet spot of warmth and of like this gentle pull and sensations that are arising for me right now, or like a little bit of a tingly sensation. And I'm getting an image of the beach and the waves And I like, as a clinician, to build on those moments. These moments where we can really harvest and dive deep and mirror this connection to our body that has this interplay with our psyche, that we are perfect just the way we are, and we are safe, and our body is here, and it's here in service. And let's find that love and compassion, and let's make it this wonderful exploration of safety, because a lot of trauma survivors don't have safety in their body container. And so I'm providing an opportunity to make that happen. And once that's kind of embedded, like we've found all these sweet spots and we've been working for a while and the client feels good, then I slowly take them into the other spots that are obviously there, that have anger or grief, shame, but the client has this new relationship to self and their soma that they can also use it as a resource. So it might be like this scary opening of memory, and then they also have the memory of this being this beautiful, safe spot that they know and they can use as a resource. So I hope that that helps go a little deeper into how I use yoga, trauma-informed yoga for mental health clinicians. And I will continue this journey and bring in a little more pieces as I go. And I can't thank you enough for joining me. And if you want to hear more, please subscribe. And Sat Nam, truth is my name. Thank you.